Well, hello everybody. I told you guys when I started this channel that I would share some of my personal experiences with you, and so that's what I want to do. But before we get started, let me make sure that you know to like and subscribe. And we're going to have lots of stories and a lot of investigations coming out and different information on the paranormal. So, I want to talk to you guys about probably one of the most sought after, looked into subjects of the paranormal, and that is demons. That's right, I said it, demons. So some people are going to tell you there's no such thing. Yet other people like Edmund Ryan Warren, who dealt with them for, I think, over 50 years, going out and investigating these hauntings that were supposedly demonic and just regular hauntings. Now, we could get into all the technicalities of how do you know it's demonic and how do you know what to do. I mean, there's probably a different billion opinions out there, but hey, I'll leave that up to you to look into. But I will tell you a couple of my own personal experiences, and if I have enough time, well, I'll tell you more than one. I'm going to go back to my first experience. I was about 16, 17 years old, and I was working with a lady whose daughter, um, some people might say, oh no, this is fake just because of the way it starts out. But it started with a Ouija board, as I recall. And if you read, a lot of stories start out that way. Some people can tell you, no, it doesn't happen. I don't know. I never used a Ouija board and had a demon appear. Other people might say, yeah, it did happen to them. So we're just going to go with that start. And so what began to happen was that the daughter began to experience things. Things would happen in her room. She would report them to her mother. They were going through a divorce. Her parents were going through a divorce at the time. Anyways, long story short, they thought that she was suffering some sort of psychological problems due to mommy and daddy getting divorced. Now, this girl was about 16 years old, as I recall. Well, things progressed until the mother began to have a couple of experiences. And one of those experiences was, and she told me, was that um, she was home alone. Her daughter was off visiting the father over the weekend, and she heard all this ruckus in the bedroom. And she went into the bedroom to look, and everything was in its place, and she thought it was very, very strange. So other things happened that made her question. Well, it finally culminated to a point to where the mother woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning or so. We all hear about that hour. Um, anyway, so she wakes up at 3 a.m. This is in South Texas, July, August, when it should be who knows how hot outside. You could probably still fry an egg on the sidewalk. So she wakes up and she notices it's very, very cold in her room. And so she told me, I wasn't there, I'm just telling you what she told me, that it was so cold that when she blew her breath, she could see it. So we're going to say it should be around 90 degrees, I don't know. But very warm. So she got up and investigated to see what the heck was going on. Was there something wrong with the air conditioner? And she got up. She noticed the front door was open, the back door was open. Not only that, but every window in the house was open. And yet it's freezing cold in the house. So she decided at that point in time there was definitely something going on. That these figures her daughters were seeing, voices, and different things that had happened was probably true. So she took her off all the medication and didn't go back and see the psychiatrist. So at that point in time, she decided we're going to move. Well, generally speaking, those that have dealt with these type things will tell you moving does no good. It may stop for a little while and it begins. So that's when I met the lady at this point. Now, I knew a pastor who had an NDE, near death experience, and during his NDE, he not only experienced what we'll call seeing heaven, so to speak, but he also saw hell. He said this angel was carrying him, and they flew over him. He could see the demons down there with outstretched arms, like they were expecting the angel to drop them. But he knew that's not where he was going. Um, so what happened was he woke back up in his body, and it was 15 minutes later. So this guy had been dead for 15 minutes. Very interesting story. You hear lots of stories like that. NDEs. Some people experience good things, some people bad. He experienced good. He was a really good man, great man. Anyways, a long story short, once this lady told me the story, I'd had many, many paranormal experiences at this point in my life. And so I told the lady I would come over and investigate. So I knew a bit about it, about doing paranormal investigations at the time that had included, cameras and a voice recording, different things. So I went over and my twin brother and I went over and we did a short investigation, went home, listened, and looked at whatever we had. Really didn't come up with anything. I mean, zero, nada, nothing. And so the lady was insisting, yeah, there's things going on here. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Before we went to the lady's house, I had had a number of dreams with this young lady in the dream, and we were running from something. And in these dreams, it was almost like if a dog were chasing you. We'll say hounds. They had your scent, but they didn't have you locked on, but they were coming after you, and you have this urgency. Look, I got to find a way to get rid of these things or to temporarily slow them down. Kind of like we see in the movies where somebody's chasing you, or they're chasing somebody and they knock over trash cans or roll a chair on the way, just trying to slow the person down until they can get a better opportunity to escape. And so I had that urgency in the dreams. Now, I really didn't remember the dreams until I went to that house and knocked on the door, and the daughter, who I'd never met, opened the door. And when I saw her face, I remember those dreams. So that told me at that point in time there was definitely something going on. So I didn't say anything until we left, and then I told my brother, I said, hey, here's the deal. This is real. Here's how I know. I mean, I had a number of these dreams, many nights. And anyways, it was kind of the same thing. So when I saw her face, I knew. And so I told the pastor that. I said, there's definitely something going on. So he decided that he would go there and do a blessing on the house, some sort of a ritual. He was a Lutheran pastor. And so during that time, activity began to step up. So my brother began to experience things. I began to experience things. Wake up at, I don't know what time, we'll say around 3 o'clock in the morning, somewhere in there. And you would hear somebody breathing. Almost like labored breathing. Breathing very deeply and exhaling very rough. Almost like somebody gasping for air, choking to death. And so I was pretty afraid. And this went on for a number of nights. And then we would wake up, my brother in one room, me in another room. He heard the same thing, and our alarm clocks would be 3 hours behind the time. And so the number 3 is pretty significant sometimes with demonic cases, and people want to say it's the devil, whatever, mocking God. No, that's not what it is. God will not be mocked according to Scripture. What it is we know that Jesus, Yeshua, that's his real name in Hebrew, had died at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So what's the opposite, 3 o'clock in the morning? God is light, the devil is dark. So it's that plain and simple. And so these events went on until he actually got out there and performed the blessing. And once he did that, these things just seemed to kind of stop. But before the ending came about, there's an interesting thing happened to myself. I'm going to share this story on a different video. I actually had a visitation from an angel. That's absolutely correct. And what was odd about it, and I'll share the whole story, is that he not only appeared to me, but he appeared to my twin brother first and gave him the same message that he gave me. And that message was very interesting. And my brother knew it. It was out of the Bible, but I'll share that in another video. So that was my first encounter with what I'll call the demonic. My second encounter was, I was at a church, I think it was probably 1984, 1985, somewhere in there. And the pastor's name was Jerry Schaefer. And he was praying for this short black lady. And as he began to pray for her, he laid hands on her, which is biblical. And he's praying for the lady, and she began to rock back and forth like this. Now my question to you is, how far backwards can you lean before you either fall on your keister or your face? So try it, you'll see. This lady's rocking at this impossible angle. I was standing there watching this. And when Jerry cast the demon out of that lady in the name of Jesus, he laid his hand on her, had it on her, and said, I command you to come out of her, you foul spirit. And when he did, you hear a click. And her front tooth actually flew about 15 feet. She didn't spit it. Her mouth was wide open when it happened. And so those are my first encounters, so to speak, with the dark side. Some people are going to say I'm making it up. I really don't care what you believe. I'm just telling you this is what I saw. People have stories on many, many different things. I can tell you over the years of the many years of being a paranormal investigator, I was contacted many times where people told me their words were, quote, I didn't believe this and this stuff until, being the key word, it happened to me. So my question to you is, do you believe? You don't believe? That's entirely up to you. But I promise you this, is that if you ever have one of those experiences, you're going to believe. Everything that I told you in this video is absolutely true. Whatever these things are, call them whatever you want, depending upon, I guess, your religious upbringing, your belief system, whatever. They're totally evil. They are they are not anything good. They're totally deceptive, destructive. If you encounter them and the problem isn't taken care of, eventually they may lead to your destruction. I have seen people, that lady was delivered from one, and I have a case where I will share with you on jinns, a person who was a Muslim who was being oppressed by what he thought were jinns, and I was able to help deliver him. And I'll share that story with you some other time. But that's one of my personal experiences. I hope you'll enjoy this video. Again, like and subscribe, and I'm going to bring you more material later. Thank you.